Good evening. Welcome to the October 30th, 2023 meeting of the Marshfield Planning Board. The time is now 7:02 p.m. Tonight's meeting is being recorded by MCTV, and we are holding a live remote meeting via Zoom. Here, tonight's members are Katie O'Donnell, Nick Papastratis, Fred Monaco, and I'm Mike Viviano, the chair. Also with us tonight is Karen Horn, our assistant town planner. At this time, I'll make a motion to waive the reading of the notice and open the meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye. Katie O'Donnell.
Thank you. Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, tonight's meeting is open. First thing on the agenda, public hearing for site plan review for the WRPD on Plain Street. I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing and waive the reading of the notice. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye. Katie O'Donnell.
Fred?
Fred Monaco, aye.
Nick?
Nick Papastratis, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, who's here to present this one?
Hey there, Attorney Jeff DeLisi, how are you? Can you all see me and hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. How are you?
Oh, great.
Yep.
Thank you. Nice to see you all tonight. With me would be Brian Frasca, who I see on my screen, and also Gabe Padilla, who is with Grady Consulting. I don't know if you can promote him into the discussion, if you see him.
Yeah, I see Ryan.
There we go. Oh no, that's Kevin.
The one that's here pops up, so.
Well, if you see him when he gets here, please promote him in, and I'll start. The property itself is owned by Frasca Realty LLC. It is approximately 2 3/4 acres of vacant land, and the address of the property is 795 Plain Street. Obviously,
Can
that's
we apologize. Can we put the plan up on here for when we're talking?
Sure. You want me to do that, or?
Yeah, I think Karen can.
Whichever. Do you want to share yours, Jeff, or do you want me to do it?
Why don't you share yours at the moment while I'm talking, Karen? Because I think that we're probably going to just move over to Gabe when I'm done.
Gabe is on just his phone, I think, and just not on video, I think.
Okay, well, that's fine. We still put it up and we'll figure it out.
I am on video. I am not on video, but I can share my screen, and I have the plan ready to go. If I can share
all right.
the screen.
So I will.
Gabe, why don't you load it up, Gabe? Because you'll probably be scrolling through as the board has questions and so forth.
All right. So I made Gabe a co-host so he can share his screen. And just as a note, Jeff, 795 is the abutting property. This property doesn't have a number yet.
You know, I happened to notice that as I was preparing, that would be the property to the right on the screen right now, I believe is 795, if I'm correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this property does not have an address, but I think the reason why it was referred to 795 by Grady Consulting is because it was once a part of 795. It's
Correct.
since been divided off.
We'll have to get a number assigned by the assessors before we do this.
Yeah. So the property is located in the industrial zoning district primarily. It has direct frontage on Route 137. As Gabe will show you in a bit, the front half of the property is located in the Water Resources Protection District, roughly the front half. And then obviously the rear half outside of the Water Resources Protection District would be just industrially zoned. Gabe will get into the plan. We're proposing an impervious driveway, an approximately 43,000 square foot footprint, 2-story building. There's going to be some open space in the front and in the rear. There's a septic system, which Grady Consulting was cleverly able to site outside of the Water Resources Protection District. So we did that intentionally, so there's no practical worry about nitrogen loading in the zone. The proposal is for the building to be used as a self-service storage facility, which the town recently adopted as an allowed use as of right in the industrial zone. The definition, as you're all familiar with, because you did the zoning amendment hearing and proposed the articles, but self-service storage facility is defined as a building used for renting or leasing individual storage units in which the occupants themselves store and remove their personal property on a self-service basis. It's not to be used for residential occupancy. And importantly for this hearing, the underlying zoning precludes the storage or prohibits the storage of hazardous materials. Also under the zoning bylaw, the building commissioner is given the obligation to determine the required number of parking spaces. He has reviewed industry data, this site plan itself, other storage facilities in Marshfield, and he's determined that 2 parking spaces, inclusive of a van space, as well as off-street loading space, would be required to meet the parking and loading requirements in the zoning bylaw. So that's where the 20 spaces proposed on the plan comes from. In addition, Grady Consulting, I think Greg might have had some questions, Greg or Karen might have had some questions regarding parking, and some additional data was provided to the board in the form of photos of commensurate buildings and parking facilities and so forth. Typically, the ZBA is the site plan permit granting authority, but in the zoning bylaw requires that the planning board takes on that role when it is acting as the special permit granting authority in the context of the Water Resources Protection District. And that's why we're here for both site plan review and water resources protection special permit. As far as water resources protection is concerned, you'll find that, you're all familiar with it, but you'll find it in section 13.03 of the zoning bylaw. The purpose is to prevent contamination of and to preserve water quantity and the quality of ground and surface water. As I reviewed the bylaw concerning water resources protection, I noticed that the bylaw broke down broad categories of use regulations into basically 4 broad categories. That would be uses which are exempt, uses which are prohibited, uses which are by right, and uses which are allowed only upon the issuance of a special permit. We're not an exempt use, we're not a prohibited use, and we're not a special permit use. We would fall under the category of a by right use under section 13.03 E3 little I. The special permit is nonetheless required so that the town can be ensured that the performance and design standards, which are articulated in section 13.03 F, are satisfied. And just quickly, those would be during construction, erosion and sedimentation control to protect stormwater runoff, safeguards for to protect against illicit discharges, such as accidental spillage and so forth, proper storage of fertilizers and manures, the preclusion of disposal of hazardous waste, insurance that any fill brought into the site's not contaminated, proper separation from groundwater, and so forth. This project has been reviewed by Pat Brennan on behalf of the board for engineering compliance. It's also been reviewed by Ed Eichner for purposes of protecting water quality. And from what I can see from the feedback and the revised submittals, it appears as if all their comments have been satisfied. But I'll let them obviously speak to that to the extent that they're present tonight. In addition, as far as site plan review is concerned, those procedures or those regulations will be found in section 12.02 of the zoning bylaw, and in section 12.02 F, as in Frank. The board's obligation is to assure, to a degree reasonably consistent, that adjoining properties are protected from detrimental and offensive uses, that pedestrians and vehicles are able to use the site safely, that disposal of wastewater is adequate, that there's adequate drainage, including operation and maintenance plan, that the parking and loading and unloading standards are met, that there's adequate lighting, and that there's minimization of adverse impacts on slopes and wetlands and so forth. We believe that this project has little impact on water quality at all. The site was designed using the best management practices for infiltration and drainage. There is no proposed illicit use or involvement of hazardous or toxic substances. The storage facility itself would be targeted for household property and not commercial uses. The concrete foundation is not permeable, and there are no proposed indoor floor drains in the foundation. We are proposing to incorporate the list of proposed substances that is set forth in the bylaw for the Water Resources Protection District in each individual storage unit and in the contract with the renter for each individual storage unit. And that's something that I've done on similar facilities in other towns, and it's been acceptable in water resources protection districts for this exact use. We're also going to be providing spill kits on each floor and at the loading and unloading area. I provided the board with a proposed language for conditions so that you could adopt those should you feel that this plan meets all the standards. We don't see any nitrogen loading issues due to the fact that the septic system, as I indicated, is proposed outside of the Water Resources Protection District. The plans have been reviewed by the fire department. The building will be sprinklered for safety. There's access on all four sides. There's adequate area for snow removal and storage. It will be entirely fenced with adequate lighting, and use is consistent with other allowed uses and existing uses in the zone, such as the extra storage space. So if you want to see, what this would look like, the building, which is the primary building on that site, is a perfect example of what we contemplate here. So with all of that information, which I know is a lot, I'm going to ask Gabe to walk the board through the plan, and then we can take it from there, I guess, unless the board has any questions for me.
Does anyone have any questions right now, or should we let the engineer take over?
Great, thank you.
I don't have any questions right now.
I'm all set. Good.
Okay, so we'll move on to, I believe it was Gabe. You can go ahead.
I'm all set.
Yes, hi, good afternoon to everyone. So as Mr. DeLisi said, we are proposing a self-storage building. It has a 43,000 square foot footprint as a two-story building. We, as it has been stated, the WRPD zone line pretty much cuts through the half of the lot. We did consider that WRPD zone in our design, which is why we have a septic system outside. I will bring up another sheet that has the utilities. So moving on to the drainage part of things, sorry about that. We are proposing two subsurface systems. One of them will be within the WRPD area, which will also have a hydrodynamic separator to give it additional pre-treatment before discharging into the WRPD. And we will be capturing roof, grass, and pavement that will be infiltrating into that area. The septic system is outside of WRPD, our WRPD zone, therefore it does not count towards the nitrogen loading calculations. You can see here, that's where the septic system is. The septic system was designed to handle up to 15 employees. In reality, this building is a 2 to 3 employee operation. So the septic system is more than capable to handle the flows that are proposed in this plan. We also have a dumpster, enclosed dumpster in the back, along with a loading area. We wanted to keep those areas outside of the WRPD zone as well. And here you can see the erosion control that we are proposing. We have a stockpile area out front, silt fence all around the site, and that'll hold everything within the site. We also have a construction entrance that will keep all those tracks cleaned up before they leave out. Gonna move here now. The site pretty much is going to be flat. We have 2% slopes going into the catch basins where everything will be collected. Pretty much half of the building will be going this way towards this system, and the other half would be going towards this system. Like I said before, the septic system here was designed for 15 employees, which handles 225 gallons per day, located outside the WRPD. Moving along, we have a lighting plan. This is our lighting plan. We did provide in a response the specifications for all the lighting and whatnot. And this is our landscape plan. We're going to have landscaped areas in front of the building, which are in consonance with the WRPD zone. Apart from that, I believe I covered mostly everything. The parking that is being provided was discussed with the zoning officer, with the building commissioner, sorry. And we got to an agreement where we are providing sufficient parking for the type of building. And if anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Karen, did you have anything or any notes from Greg or yourself at all?
No, I mean, Greg had, he had asked on the end of the week for how they were going to keep hazardous materials out, and we did get that agreement today, but we haven't sent that over to Ed Eigner yet to see if that satisfies his concern. And Greg had a question about they show an office on the building, and we didn't have any information of it, and I understand that it's just more for sort of the custodian of the building or whatever you want to, that would be there. Is that right, Gabe?
Yes, it's pretty
Office
much a
with it.
front desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So it was considered in the design as part of the amount of employees that was done in the septic design, and as part of buildings that are similar for the amount of parking spaces that we needed.
so I would say the only thing is that we just need to have, since Greg's been out sick, he hasn't seen the language that they provided, nor has Ed. So that would be the only outstanding thing on this end.
Okay, sounds good. Was Pat here to just give us his review, or?
Pat's not on here, but he did give us a second letter that said all of his comments had been addressed. I can pull it up if you want to see.
No, that's fine. Not a problem. Any questions from the board right now before I ask if there's anyone from the public? Okay, looks like no one from the board. Anyone here from the public for this at all?
It doesn't look that way.
Sorry, Karen, say it one more time.
It doesn't look like there's anyone else. There's only
Okay.
9 of us.
All right. So it looks like we just got to continue it to probably the next hearing. And then we should be able to vote at that point, just once we get.
Yeah, and then we'll have a decision ready at that time too.
Yeah, that way Greg can look at a couple of things and we get Ed's response back as well.
Yeah. So
All
our
right,
next,
good with the applicant.
our next meeting is not until after Thanksgiving. It's November 27th.
7/27/23. Okay, so there's no other questions. I'm going to make a motion that we continue this public hearing until November 27th, 2023 at 7:05 PM. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, that's continued till November 27th at 7:05. Thank you.
All right, we'll bring our leftover turkey. Thank you so much.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'm just
Um,
going to stay on for the discussion on the endorsement of the Brendan Paris plan. I'm sure it's not a big deal, but I'm here for any questions if you want.
So we're moving on to endorse the plans for Jedediah's Path. Karen, do you want to explain that real briefly?
We got the Mylars last week. They've made the changes that were part of the certificate of action and part of the court's judgment, just to have not use that easement that follows along the Vazinas. So now all the drainage will stay on the Jedediah's Path extension subdivision. I think it's lot 1, I'm not sure. And then it'll enter into the town's basin. So those plans are all set. They just need your vote to endorse it.
So they're going to have the drainage going into the town's basin still? They
Right,
just can't use that easement down there?
correct.
Was that just in the settlement, or was that an actual like ruling?
It was actually in the certificate of action. It had come up at the end, and one of the conditions was to do that. And during the hearing, Kevin Grady had said that they had designed it and it would be no big deal, and so that's what was in the decision.
Okay, so that's fine. Any questions from the board at all?
Nope.
Nope.
Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we endorse the plans for Jedediah's Path. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
thank you.
Fred
Nick?
Monaco, I.
Okay,
Nick
Nick?
Papastratus, aye.
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, so
amazing.
we can all,
We have 3 signatures already, so if Kevin and Mike can come in, then that would be great.
I'll come in
Okay,
tomorrow,
sounds
Karen.
Okay, perfect. Jeff will let you know when all the board gets it signed, so hopefully within a day or 2.
That's great. That's super. I greatly appreciate it. It's a good end to the long saga.
For everyone.
All right. Have a great night,
Okay.
everyone.
you too, thanks.
Yep.
So move on to for a vote on the economic development plan. I'll let Karen take that.
Yeah, we've already reviewed it, and I think we'd already gone through comments of it, but I'm not sure why we never voted to endorse all the changes. MAPC has incorporated all the comments, and Greg and I reviewed it, and as Greg's emails does, staff's recommendation to vote to accept the plan and direct planning staff to modify as necessary to fit into the master plan. Using the full report would be referenced, but boil it down from 87 pages to a 20-page executive summary.
Okay, any comments from the board at all?
No.
All right,
Nope.
so you're just looking for a vote to have this added into the master plan?
And to accept the plan, the full plan.
So is it, that's all one motion, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept the economic development plan as written and include that in the master plan. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. All right, we can vote the meeting minutes. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of 8/21/23 and 10/16/23. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, I.
You, Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, yes.
and Mike Viviano, aye. All right, board staff report. I got a quick question, Karen. Whatever happened to leaving MAPC and the difficulties?
We could never get the vote to leave. And then they offered us free technical assistance on the economic development. Well, it wasn't free, but it was a cheap deal. So that's,
So we got a good deal.
yeah.
Be quiet.
But I don't think, we just couldn't, we needed the vote at the State House and we just, so I think we just ready to just move on.
Just couldn't get it. All right. Do you have any other staff report?
We're working on the draft zoning changes for the MBTA communities changes, as well as some other housekeeping stuff, and there'll be a lot of zoning changes, but we'll have a draft for discussion on November 27th. And if you didn't know, we did just receive a CZM grant to finally put some of the beach nourishment material on Bay Ave. So Greg's been working with Woods Hole and Rod Procaccino to get the RFP ready, and they hope to have some material in the winter put on Bay Ave. So that's about it.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board at all? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion that we close tonight's hearing. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell, I.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, I.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, that concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thanks,
Alright,
everyone.
thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.